Kiss Country 99.9. We are backstage at Kiss Country and Odyssey Stars and Strings with Parker McCollum. Parker, we just got to hang out with you a little bit at Joe DiMaggio Children's Hospital. And being at children's hospitals many times, it always makes a big difference. But I'm guessing, I have a new baby girl at home. I know you have a new little one. Does it hit a little bit different now when you go to places like that and see what people are going through?
It absolutely does, man. It's I tell everybody that asks about the new little one, it's the craziest thing. Just so much more of an adjustment in life than I anticipated. I mean, I didn't read a book. I didn't go to a class. I didn't watch no YouTube video. I didn't do any of that. So me and him have been learning at the same pace.
Yeah.
And but you really have a very newfound perspective on how fragile life is and how much of a blessing it is to get through that whole process healthy. And then, to be at Joe DiMaggio today and see how many families are there with their kids day in and day out, going through the grind right now of trying to keep their kid healthy. It just, it makes you grateful for all the things you have and all the things you don't have. And, it's really, I said it earlier when we were at the hospital, if me stopping by there for 30 minutes makes any sort of difference in any one of those kids' lives, sign me up 365 days a year because that's worth it.
Amazing.
You're such a true gentleman, and we picked up on it at the hospital. Like, you shook everybody's hands. You said their name back. You took your hat off. I was like, this is, like, you're Texas. Like, you are,
ma'am.
like, a Texas man. Like, you're like a gentleman. And it made me think, because I know you called your wife Norma before, and I know you're a fan, obviously, of George Strait.
Yes, ma'am.
And so how much did he have an influence on you growing up in the music world?
Pretty much the biggest influence. He was just held in such a high regard in my house. My mom went to, it's Texas State now, it was Southwest Texas State back in the day. Mm-hmm. And so she was going and seeing him at Cheatham Street and stuff when she was in college. And so she was just a super fan of his my whole childhood. And there was no higher than George Strait in our house. And, I just remember seeing his music videos. I remember my mom had his CDs. If y'all remember CDs, she had his cassette tapes. If you remember cassette tapes,
I do.
The cassette tapes.
And so George Strait and the Judds and Keith Whitley, Eddie Rabbitt, Ronnie Millsap. Those were my earliest country music, anything that I ever heard, and I just fell in love with it and identified with it so instantly. Or so instantaneously, but none more than I did with George Strait. And man, he's the king. And I've been lucky enough to play some shows with him and play some golf with him, and got to know him a little bit. And so, I kind of equate it to the Santa Claus thing. It's like you grow up, you find out Santa Claus isn't real. Hopefully, no kids are watching this. But
Santa is 1,000% real.
1,000% real, and so is George Strait, which is where I was going with that.
There he is.
But you grow up and you kind of grow out of that, and I still haven't grown out of it, man. I still look at him and listen to his records like
like he's Santa.
And just like I'm a kid, still wanting to do it for a living, being a fan of his is one thing, but getting to know him a little bit and seeing how genuine and how just truly real human being he is. He's just such a real person and such a down-to-earth guy has really made all that even better.
So that's what I got from you today. That's why I correlated the two with you.
Thank you.
So
really
you're
handle yourself like that.
Super athlete yourself. I know you grew up playing sports and things like that.
Never played anything very well.
Okay, but still, it's probably better than most of us would get out there and play. So my question is, when you do play with George Strait, do you let him win?
Last year I did.
Okay.
I was like, we can't beat him at his own charity tournament. And then this year I was like, I had my same partner, Brett Hulley. He's a Hall of Fame hockey player, one of the greatest ever. And he's an incredible golfer and really just a complete and total stick. And this year I was like, let's stick it to him.
Do you talk any junk out to George Strait while you're on the golf course?
We talk a little trash. Yeah,
okay.
a little bit.
Does he give it back?
A little bit.
Okay.
Yeah. He's got it going on. He's quiet and reserved, and I really respect that, the way he carries himself. On stage, on the golf course, wherever he is. I try to steal as much of that from him as I can, just how I carry myself anywhere. But on the golf course, we let it rip a little bit. So.
Awesome.
And he's good. He's a good player.
And last, I talked to you at the hospital just a bit ago about your shoe game, and I'm a little disappointed because when we talked 4 years ago, we were working from home during the pandemic, and we did one of those live IG things, and I got to talking about your shoes, and you literally took me to your closet and showed me your shoes, and you have like a sick shoe like fetish and collection.
Yes,
and then I asked you about it, and you said it's still probably there in Austin right now in storage.
It is. Well, there's probably close to a couple hundred pair that have never been worn that are in boxes in a storage unit. But when I signed this boot deal with Luke Casey for a pretty lengthy while, it's a long deal, and And so now I've got more boots, and I don't even have room for all the boots. I mean, I've got them on my bus, in my office, in my closet, in my truck, all over the place. And so they've kind of taken over my sneaker love,
Okay.
and rightfully so. I mean, it's a great problem to have.
Absolutely. All right, we
love
are
it.
backstage live. Odyssey and Kiss Country Stars and Strings. Parker McCollum, thank you so much, buddy.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.
Appreciate y'all having me.